Hi, welcome to this demo session. So here we are going to talk about SEM demo. So I just taken few points here as today's demo agenda. So we'll talk on these few areas, what we'll be learning as a part of Oracle Fusion Cloud SEM applications, and what is the use of functional setup manager, and what is the meaning of RBAC, role based access control in Fusion applications, and security console concept, and what is a business process management BPM in Fusion, and how accounting takes place in SAM application, how it is different when you compare with EBS, and what is the concept of file based data import FBDI, and reporting OTB and BIP. We'll talk on that why I included here, and role based dashboards. Hope these all almost all terms which you see here totally new for everyone, because we don't see most of the things in EBS. We have role based access control, but just how it is different, everything we are going to understand in today's demo session. Okay, fine. So the first point is Oracle Fusion Cloud SCM applications. When you talk about Cloud SCM applications, okay, so we know like what are the primary applications as a part of SCM, supply chain management. So when you look at Oracle EBS, very core modules. We have many other modules which are tightly connected and integrated with the SCM, these core modules, but we are just for our discussion, I'm taking very core modules here. We have Oracle inventory application as a part of Oracle EBS, and Oracle purchasing, and Oracle order management. When you look at Oracle Fusion Cloud or Fusion applications, it may not be cloud. We'll discuss anyway what is a cloud and what is not cloud. Okay, when you look at Oracle Fusion Cloud applications, so we have Oracle Fusion Product Management. Okay, the inventory is replaced with Oracle Fusion Product Management. We know what we do in Oracle Inventory. We maintain the stock, we'll create items, we all the item assignments and many other activities, template definitions, many inventory related transactions, everything we can perform in Oracle EBS inventory. The same you can perform from Oracle Fusion Product Management. Okay, the same solution we have as a part of EBS also, but they were offering in EBS that is there as a separate solution, but in Fusion we to manage your inventory related activities they given Oracle Fusion Product Management. If you take the subscription for SCM Fusion SCM applications, you'll get, okay, you'll be get some privileges to use this application up to what level that Oracle Fusion Product Management will support for your SCM process flows. Okay, once we get into the actual classes, anyway we'll be working on it, it would be more clear for everyone. So just to understand the simple point, we don't have any inventory application or module in Fusion applications. In that place they given Oracle Fusion Product Management application, and rest of two core modules remain same. So we have Oracle Fusion Purchasing, which is a part of procurement, or when you talk about SCM, it's a separate application you can consider. Oracle Fusion Order Management. Okay, so this is how we have. And when we know like even when we are working on EBS, when we are just when we talk about Oracle Inventory, we deal with the costing and pricing and different applications. Here also we are going to cover all the different applications where we have to do some dependency setups or integration based setups from different application. Those anyway, those should be there to support the SCM related business process flows and respect to application configuration. So that we have in Fusion also. Here we have a cost management application which will be using to define the cost related definitions, and and the pricing related pricing definitions and the material management, which are which I mean say when we are working on product management or our order management and purchasing application, which got some dependency, and where we have to take certain dependency features from other products, that remain same here also. When we are working on the application, that we'll see. I'm not including those all some just piece of functionality based applications in our demo today. Okay, just primarily these are the three core modules which we are going to cover in our classes. And when we are working on these applications, we are going to cover primarily these three modules as a part of SCM, supply chain management, Oracle Fusion, product management, purchasing, and order management. Along with that, we'll go through accounts payables, account receivables, and Fusion General Ledger also. So we know, like, without primary ledger and operating units, we cannot run any application. And when we are going to work on these core SCM applications to cover these two cycles, P2P and O2C cycles, okay, we are going to include payables, receivables, and general ledger application. But in payables, receivables, and general ledger applications, will be covering the basic configuration and basic process flows, but we'll be completely focusing on the three core modules which we have as a part of SCM applications. Okay, so in the P2P cycle, we'll talk about what are the configuration required in the product management and the relevant transactions we'll be working on, and purchasing, the complete configuration and different business futures or scenarios we'll be handling. And when I talk about accounts payables, we'll do the basic configuration and we'll create the invoice based on PO receipt, and that we'll see how to process the payment, final how to interface the data from payables to general ledger. And as a part of O2C cycle, the same product management remains same, and order management will see the complete process, complete configuration and the process, which what are the different process can be or sub process can be handled. And the integration with the receivables application will configure the basic setups, and will create a invoice, auto invoice in the receivables based on order management sales order information. And finally that information will flow into general ledger. That's how we are going to cover two cycles which are very key cycles, which are connected with the finance and supply chain management applications. Okay, and the next point here is functional setup manager, FSM. What is the use of functional setup manager in Fusion application? So if you want to do any system related configuration EBS, what we do, we'll have a different responsibility. Through responsibilities, you can go and do the required configuration. If you want to set up purchasing application, you need purchasing responsibility. For purchasing related setups, you can do only from purchasing responsibility. To do the inventory related configuration, you have to switch to inventory responsibility. From there you can do inventory setups. And to do the order management configuration, you have to be in the order management responsibility, then only you can do all the relevant configuration. But in Fusion, we no need to switch across the different applications to complete the setups. They given one feature called as functional setup manager. You can treat this as one of the application which will support for any system related configurations. By using this functional setup manager, you can do any application related configuration from centralized place. Okay, from centralized dashboard you will be able to perform any system related configuration. Let's look into this functional setup manager. What is the purpose, how it is going to be useful when we are working on Fusion application? So if you are going to work on EBS application, so straight away, what is the process we follow when you start with implementation? You have to understand what is the scope of the modules we are going to implement for the client. Based on that, we'll create responsibilities, then we'll start working on the project. And if you want to maintain the information, what are the modules you are going to implement, and for which modules which resource is going to work, and what is the progress of the work within the system environment. I'm talking about system environment. Say purchasing setups, what is the progress, order management setups, what is the progress, inventory setup progress, everything. If you want to track, we don't have any flexibility within the system environment to track for which module which resource is working, how much work is completed, how much percentage of the setups are completed for purchasing or inventory or order management. So that we cannot do within the system environment when we talk about EBS. It could be 11a or release 12. But in the Fusion, they given scope where we can track all the project related information. So how many, what are the modules we are going to implement, how many resources are going to work, which resource is working for which application or which business process, what is the progress of, what is the status of the work the team member is team member is stating against the work which is assigned, what is the due date for the work of completion. Here when you say work, it's all about system configuration. These all we can track within the system environment. If you want to track all the information within the system environment, we have to create implementation project. Without creating the implementation project, you cannot track any project related system configuration. So that can be possible through functional setup manager. We'll just look into what are the points we have to understand when you talk about function setup manager. The function setup manager, if you to start with the system configuration, okay, the system execution point of view, first we have to create the implementation project. In the function setup manager, we have to create the implementation project. So if you want to create the implementation project, first you have to know the offerings. So here offering is nothing but group of applications. Say procurement. When you say procurement, we have a multiple modules. When you talk about procurement, as a part of procurement, we have one purchasing application, supplier portal, nothing but iSupplier, procurement contract, sourcing. These are the different applications. As per functional setup manager, the specific product family we call as offerings, and within the offerings, what are the modules we have, that those we call as options. So these very detailed level will be discussing before we start with the functional setup manager in the system environment. Okay, here just I'm trying to give you the high level understanding. So what is the purpose of functional setup manager will be using in when we do the implementations. Okay, so if you are going to do the implementation, you have to know the offerings. That means which group of application, which product families you are going to use for the implementation. That means finally you have to identify which applications you are going to implement. When you say offering indicates group of applications. Financials we call as offering, SCM we call as offering, procurement we call as offering, projects we call as offering. Within the offering we'll have a list of modules, multiple applications. Each application we call as option. So first you have to understand what is the scope of the implementation you are going to do. Then which applications you are going to implement, those you have to select. Configure is nothing but selecting the application. Based on that, system will generate the task list, and when we are working on the specific task, once you do certain setup, you will be marking in the system that setup is completed. That's how the entire project's progress can be tracked. Okay, so these points will we have to spend more time to understand more detail level. Anyway, in our further classes we'll talk on this very detailed level, but for now this is what we can discuss. Okay, so first we have to create the implementation project by grouping what are the applications you are going to implement. Based on that, we'll start doing the setups, and you can update the setup status within the project, so that project level will be able to track the progress. And not only project level, within the project, offering wise, for financials how many setups are completed, for procurement how many setups are completed, and SCM how many setups are completed, for projects how many setups are completed. For the different offerings or product families, the progress of work easily you can track. And even against the resource also, the people, the team members who are working against the project, so what is the percentage of work is completed for respective team member, that complete information can be tracked when you are going to use function setup manager concept in the Fusion application. The first point is, what is use of function setup manager is for system configuration. Simple point. By using the function setup manager, we'll do all the setups. We no need to switch from one to another responsibilities, how we do in EBS. In Fusion application, any application setup you can do from one place, that is function setup manager. Okay, we'll create the project, then we'll do the setups. The second point, what is the other advantage of this function setup manager? Within the function setup manager, we can do the data imports and exports. Okay, in the Fusion applications, it's not mandatory you have to do all the setups from the system only. We have a spreadsheets which we call as a rapid implementation spreadsheets. In the Fusion application, we have a rapid implementation spreadsheets. Those you can download from the application, okay, from the instance, and you can just fill the data within those spreadsheets. Once you enter the data within the spreadsheet, that information you can import into the system, then automatically system will configure, okay, system environment based on the data which you have in the spreadsheets. So if you want to do any, say for example, you want to create the supplier, you don't need to create the suppliers. directly through manual process, you can keep the supplier information in the spreadsheet, rapid implementation spreadsheet. We have different spreadsheets. I'm not going one by one. We have a ADFDI, FBDI, rapid implement, different spreadsheets. We have different spreadsheets got different purpose, the way we use. So that will be discussing very detailed level, but just to give you the basic information, we have a spreadsheets. Within the spreadsheets you can keep the data and you can load into the system. Based on the data, automatically system will get configured. The same way, what are the setups we have in the system environment, you can export them into Excel, and if you want to do the some changes, you can do the changes, and again you can import them into the system. That's how you can do the modification to the setups which are existed in the system environment. And other advantage is setup reporting. You can generate the reports also based on what is the configuration completely within the system, what is the configuration is due, and project wise and team member wise and offering wise and option wise, module wise or group of module, for all the different levels you will be able to generate the reports, so that you can submit to the respective supervisor or somebody who will be just looking after the project progress. That's how that reporting also available within the functional setup manager, which talks about system configuration. Okay, and other option is configuration packages. Okay, configuration packages. So with the configuration packages, what we can do is, if you have one project where you have completed all the setups, the same setups, if you want to move to other instance, you can use the configuration packages. By using the configuration packages, you can copy the project, and that project information you can import into other instance. That's how you can move the setups from one instance to other instance. Okay, these are the key advantages which we can see when you talk about functional setup manager. In Fusion applications, if you are going to do any implementation, project creation is mandatory. Okay, project creation is mandatory. So rest, okay, create implementation project, this is a mandatory which you have to do. Data imports and exports, okay, we have a flexibility, generally we use it. If you don't want to use it, you have to go with a manual process. There are certain imports which you have to do as a mandatory, that we'll be discussing. And setup reporting, if you want to use it, you can use it, otherwise you can ignore. Configuration packages, if you want to move the setups from one instance to other instance, yes, you can use it, or else you can ignore it. But within the functional setup manager, the mandatory task which you have to perform is implementation project creation. Okay, so these are the few points to understand about functional setup manager, but we'll be having separate session to understand more detail level. Okay, there are some other points also which you have to understand. When you start with the functional setup manager, what is the sequence of activities we have to perform? Okay, these points we have to focus, that we'll be discussing in the respective session. So based on these points what we discussed, any questions please? Very high level to understand the functional setup manager. Okay, I'm just giving these few points. Apart from this, if you are trying to understand anything else, please let me know, we can talk on that. Any questions here,
Hi
please?
Lakshman, this is Babu.
Yeah.
Hi Lakshman, this is Babu Varghese.
Yeah.
The point number 2 and point number 4, I thought that data imports and exports, it is the configuration, right?
Yeah, configuration.
Then what is?
It's not only configuration data. When you talk about data imports and exports, you can import or export setup data or transactional data also.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the point 4 is only the configuration
Only
data,
configuration.
moving from
That's right.
instance to instance.
You are right. Just
Okay.
configuration data. You cannot move the transactional data. If you have a requirement of moving the transactional data in cloud environment, you have to request Oracle. Oracle will do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Once
Okay.
we discuss what is a cloud and what are the different options we have, then we'll get more clarity on that. Why Oracle has to involve in this kind of cloning process. In case of EPS, our DBA will do it. When we are going to work on cloud, SM or any other applications, these all DBA activities are done by Oracle DBAs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions on this, please? Okay. I'm just trying to give you the very high level understanding. I'm trying to outline what we have as a part of that, exactly how we can, how those works, and where to start, how to proceed, what to do, what not to do, what are the what we cannot, what we can do, okay, which is not in the scope of doing within the functional setup manager. These points very detailed level talk, okay, before we start with the system related to functional setup manager. But in this stage now, if you have any questions on this, please. Fine, done. So just remember these points. In Fusion applications, if you want to do any implementations, first you have to create implementation project. By creating implementation project, you can track the progress of system configuration. That is mandatory. Rest purely depends on how you want to proceed. Done. Okay, so this would be the, just I taken one simple a screenshot which shows some image of implementation project. Here you can see the implementation project, SCM implementation project, and this project is assigned to so and so person, SCM implementation consultant. Normally the project will be assigned to project manager, or will be monitoring the project. Within the project, what are the offerings we are going to implement, or say modules, okay, those will be part of this. By using that only we can do the system related configuration. Okay, and the next concept is role based access control, RBAC. Do you think we have this RBAC concept in EBS? Anyone, please?
I think we do in payables. That's, I guess, a little. I mean, it's not it's on a, it's not in a very in-depth way, but I think we do have it.
Correct. See, in many applications we have mostly like this feature is connected with the web-based functions, right? When you deal with the supplier portals, and when you deal with iProc, iProcurement, and in different applications where the privileges will be given to so and so user to work on some self-service web application pages, there this role-based access control is used, but that's very limited usage, right? So in our EBS, how the access can be given to the user, we know very well. When you talk about this role-based, the role-based, see here in Fusion, we are using the role-based access control, RBAC. But when you talk about EBS, how that can be managed. Okay, we'll just talk on that. We'll compare EBS with the Fusion application. When you talk about role-based access control, yes, we have in EBS, but that is limited to very few areas of application and very limited functionality. Mostly we can use this role-based access control where web application or web-based form functionality is involved for user access. So when you talk about role-based access control, what is the meaning of that? The simple definition is, so for the user, based on the profile in the company will assign some role, the role will have certain rights or say privileges. So user will have access to specific role, the role will have certain rights or privileges. That's how the user can have access to the system related objects. So when you take this simple example here to understand role-based access control, how it works in Fusion application, the whatever the role-based access control we have in the Fusion application, just I given the slide by comparing with EBS. Take simple example, if any user want to have access to the system in our EBS environment, that could be 11IR release 12, how the concept will work, how the logic will work. Let's look at this slide. See here, a data access to users in EBS 11IR release 12. Say for example, we have one user and we have to give the permissions to the user to work on purchasing application. Say I want to assign the responsibility called as purchasing super user responsibility user. If I assign just responsibility to user, there is no use. Just user can have access to that functions. Okay, whatever we have within that responsibility, user can have access to the function, but user cannot perform any transaction. So that is the reason what we have to do is we have to assign operating unit to responsibility by using the profile option. Okay, we are going to assign, generally we assign operating unit to responsibility by using the profile option. Then finally that responsibility will assign to the user, so that this user can work for this operating unit with the help of responsibility. Within the responsibility only, as we know, we'll have a menu, right? So menu we cannot assign to the user directly. That is the reason we are creating the responsibility in EBS, that we are connecting to the user. So this user will be working for this operating net, so operating net through respect to responsibility. The same logic when you compare with the Fusion, how it works. In EBS operating unit, in Fusion we are calling as business unit. Okay, OU stands for operating unit, we know that. And in Fusion, the operating unit concept, the name they changed to BU, business unit. BU, business unit. So here also same logic, but naming convention is changed. So here we have a responsibility. In the place of responsibility, we have role. Within the responsibility, what we can have? Within the responsibility, generally when we are defining, we'll be giving the menu as a mandatory and data group, and optionally we can provide the request group. But primarily to have access, we require menu. So within the responsibility, we have menu. This role is equal to menu only. Role is equal to EBS menu. Okay. So here to access the particular menu related functionality, we are creating the responsibility. Otherwise responsibility is not required for us. If there is any option where you can assign menu to user, we don't need responsibility concept in EBS. But since that is not possible in EBS, we have to create the responsibilities. When you are creating, still you can add something to the responsibility to give access to user, like request group and other some objects and controls you can set at responsibility level. So that's there. Okay, that's there as it is. But when you talk about Fusion, what we'll do is, so here OU we are assigning to responsibility through profile option, but in the Fusion applications, BU we assign to role. Okay, role is equal to menu. Menu is part of responsibility, so simply you may say role is equal to EBS responsibility also, but reality role is equal to EBS menu, the menu which we generally include as a part of responsibility. So the BU we assign to responsibility by using the security contest. In EBS we are using the profile option, but Fusion we are going to use security contest. And remember one point, okay, I just mentioned here very clearly, in Oracle Fusion release 12, the release 12 is very latest version now. Okay, release 12 is very latest. Till release 11, this security contest concept we don't have. Now our sessions also we are going to run on the very latest version, that is release 12 in Fusion application. Till release 11 there is no security contest concept. Okay, that how the access given, it's a slightly different. That also I'll be including in our discussions going forward. Okay, for now let's try to understand in the current latest version how the concept works. So BU we have to assign to role by using the security contest. In EBS, by using the profile option, we assign OU to responsibility, but in a Fusion, BU we assign to role by using the security contest. Okay, but in Fusion also we have profile options. But for this kind of assignments we don't use profile options. We use concept called as security contest. Finally we assign this role to the user. Say for example, the role may be purchasing manager. Which is similar to responsibility in EBS. So when this user connect to this role, the user will have access to all the purchasing related functions. But when the user is going to create purchase order, definitely the user need access to specific data, nothing but business unit. So the BU will be connected to the role, the user will connect to the role. That's how the transaction can take place. To connect BU with the role, we are using the security contest. This is equal to profile option, but not profile option. In EB Fusion also we have profile options. Okay, but it works similar to profile option. So this is a point we have to understand. And one more point, these things also will be discussed in very detailed level in future classes. But here just very high level points I want to give you for your understanding. Any question on this, please?
Lakshman,
Yep.
can you hear me? The EBS profile option assigning to the responsibility, is it like MO security profile option that we create and then add the
Correct.
operating unit and
MO operating unit.
okay.
In EBS, by using MO operating unit, we can assign OU to responsibility. Similar to that, we use security profile to assign BU to role.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Any other questions on this, please?
Yeah, where is the business group here? Because I don't find the business group on the slide at all.
No,
So
no.
just over.
See, generally, business group doesn't involve in this process. See, user require access to specific functionality. When you talk about EBS, we'll have a responsibility. We have to assign operating unit to responsibility. Yes. When you talk about when you want to have access to the employees from the business group, that will be assigning to responsibility in EBS. That's true. But in the Fusion, we don't have we don't have concept called as business group. We don't have any business group concept. We have a enterprise and LDGs, legislative data groups. That will be discussing very detailed level when you talk about enterprise structure. In EBS we have a multi-org structure. The same in Fusion we call as enterprise structure. There are certain changes Oracle made their you can say certain levels they redesign how things will work. We'll be discussing on that. But let's focus
Right.
on
Thank you.
how these things will get connected when you compare with EBS, how it's different or how similar. That point we are trying to understand. Yep.
Right. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions on this slide, please? In the previous versions, in the latest version, this is how we are going to connect. But till release 11, the process is totally different. Okay, that also just for your information, I'll be covering in our classes. But in the latest version, they brought the concept called as security contest. Okay, before versions, it was totally different. If no question,
Yeah, I have one.
yeah.
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Please.
Yeah. How about what's going to happen in release 13, considering that there are changes being made in
No.
release 12 already? Because if no changes like that.
No changes. See, when you compare with release 11, in release 12, they changed primarily one concept, that is the security. That is nothing but role-based access control. Only they changed how role-based access control works in release 11 or previous versions. That is totally different from release 12 version. You don't see big changes when you compare with the previous version of release 11, and the same currently what we are discussing, the role based access control RBAC, the same is going to be in the release 13 also. Okay, the functionality point of view, don't see big changes with respect to finance. So most of the functions we have finance or SCM supply chain management application, they did very slight changes in the procurement side that I'll be covering.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. So the classes will be conducting on release 12 version. We will provide you the instance access also for release 12 so that there won't be any gap. Okay. Fine. So any other questions on this slide, please? Fine, no questions. So next concept is security console. So when you talk about security console, let's talk about our EBS. In EBS, we can create the users from system administrator responsibility, and we can create the responsibilities from system administrator responsibility. We can assign those responsibilities to the user from system administrator responsibility. That means everything we do from system administrator responsibility. So similar to that, okay, or say equal to that, in Fusion we have a concept called as security console. So by using the security console, you can create the user creation you can do from security console, and you can assign the role assignments. In EBS what we do, responsibilities we have, but in Fusion we don't have any responsibility concept. Equal to responsibility we have a roles. However, we assign responsibility to user in EBS by using the system administrator responsibility. In the same way, by using security console, Okay, by using the security console, we can assign the roles to the users. And in EBS, we can create the custom menus within the system administrator responsibility. Okay, but when I talk about Fusion, within the security console, you can create the custom roles. This is a very primarily we use system security console for these purposes when you are working as a functional consultant. So any questions on this, please? User creation, role assignment, creating the custom roles as per the business requirement. Okay, say you have a purchasing manager role. If you assign that role, the user may get access to everything, but as per the job what the user is doing in the company, user may require access to just to create purchase order, or user require access to just to create requisition, or user require access just to create receipt. So as per the business requirement, we'll be creating the custom roles. Okay, we have a different type of roles also, that also will be covering in the further sessions. Now here just take as a roles, how many type of roles we have, what is the meaning of that, how to compare with EBS, and how to understand the similarity or differences, that will be discussing very detailed level when you talk about roles concept. But for now, simple point is, by using the security console, we can create the users and we can assign the roles to the users. At the same time, we can create the same place we can create the custom roles if required. Definitely required in every project. Any questions on this, please? If you compare with EBS, the security console is equal to your system administrator application or say responsibility. Any questions here, please? No questions, fine. So when you look at the role, this is how you can see in the security console. See, I just selected one role called as purchasing analyst. Okay, purchasing analysis. Okay, this is one of the role name. So if you go and open any menu in EBS, within the menu, what are the submenus you have? Within the submenus, what are the functions you have? You can see. In the same way, in the security console, you can just open any one of the role. If you select role, within the role has which privileges, all you can see here. Still you can just zoom and you can see more detail level, and when you are working on the system, I'll take you through very detailed process, but here just to give you some idea how that roles looks like, I just given this slide. So this is a role, this is one of the role name, purchase and analysis, and that role has all these privileges. And in EBS, okay, we have a seeded roles. By using that seeded roles, we can create the custom sorry, in the EBS we have a seeded menus, right? In EBS we have a custom seeded menus. By using the seeded menus, you can create the custom menus. In Fusion, by using this is a seeded role. By using the seeded role, you can create the custom roles, or else the seeded one you can edit. Generally we should not edit seeded, but Oracle given the option. You see here, this is the purchase analysis role. Okay, so the role you can edit. If you want to edit, you can edit this, and you can, within this, what are the privileges you have, you can remove. You can add some additional privileges, but it's not recommended. Okay, you should, the recommendation is you should not change seeded roles what Oracle is providing, but still they're given the flexibility to do it. But we should know, we should not go and disturb the seeded roles what Oracle provided. And the other option is copy role. What are the role we have as a seeded role? Simply you can make a copy, the copied role. Okay, by using the copied role, you can do the required changes, that you can modify. That is always best practice. Okay, so we should not edit the roles which are seeded. We can copy the role, then you can go and do the required modification, or else within the security console you can create any role from the scratch. From the scratch you can create, or else you can make a copy and you can do the required changes, and you can add additional privileges into role. So that's how it works. So compare role, one role you can compare with other role. Say for example, this is a purchase analysis. This role I want to compare with say purchase specialist. So when I want to compare this role with other role to understand what we have in this role and what we have in other role, you can just do the comparison. That option also available. Just with the one click, you will be able to perform that comparison between the roles. Okay, if you want to compare two menus in EBS, it's a big task for us. But here, just one click away. You can just select one role and you can go with the compare and provide other role. Then automatically system will display all the information, what we have commonly, what we have distinct. Okay, everything system will display. We'll go through all these activities when you're working on the instance. Simulate navigator means the current user. Okay, that we'll talk on this later, not required now. We'll just look into that later. Okay, fine. Just I want to give you some information how roles looks like, and within the roles the privileges how looks like from security console. Okay, so this is what just we have to understand when I talk about roles in Fusion applications. And this is another role I selected, supplier manager. Supplier manager has all these privileges. Just if you place the cursor on specific privilege, that says what is the privilege all about. Here just I place the cursor and I taken the screenshot. It says the privilege name is create supplier. Supplier manager has access to supplier creation privilege. Okay, so here the description also they written allows creation of suppliers. Okay, you can remove and you can add, you can copy this and you can modify, but the seeded roles you should not modify. This is what we have to understand. Fine. Any question here, please? Okay, fine. And once you assign this role, once any role, once you assign the any role to the user, see when you assign the responsibility to user, when you assign the responsibility to user in EBS, we log into the user. Once you log in the home page, you can see all the list of responsibilities. Okay, list of responsibilities. If you assign 10 responsibilities to one user, once you log in, you can see 10 responsibilities in the home page. You can select the responsibility and system will open the navigator. Within the navigator, you can have access to specific responsibility related access. If you want to go to other responsibility, you have to switch to other responsibility, then you will be entering into that responsibility related navigator. But here there is no concept of switching from one role to other role. Say for example you assign 10 roles to user. Once we assign 10 roles to user, the 10 role related privileges you can see in the home page like this. This is how you can find your home page. So this presentation, see here we have a procurement. If you assign procurement role to the user, the procurement, the springboard icon, this representation we call a springboard. This we call a springboard. Within the springboard you can see all the access related icons. What are the roles you assign to the user? Based on that, system will display the icon. If you click on this procurement, within this, what are the within the procurement, what access you have, that system will display. I given here the same slide. Okay, once you click on that, that will open. Within the procurement, the user, say user has access to purchase requisition creation and do receipts. So the home page, what are the icons you see, which system will populate based on the roles, those we call as springboard icons. Okay, you can expand that. Within that you can find what are the privileges you have when you talk about procurement. This is the one option. Other option is in Fusion also we have a navigator, but it is not similar to EBS. In EBS we'll have a navigator to specific to responsibility, but here we'll have a navigator specific to user. So the user has access to what are the different application and different privileges, all can be displayed within one navigator. This is how you can see the navigator. See within the navigator you can see all procurement related and the different application services. Okay, depending on which roles we assign to the user, the role based complete access you can see in the single navigator. You don't need to switch from one to other roles to have a access for specific area of the task. Okay, so in EBS Responsible device will have a navigator. Here user level navigator will have what are the roles we assign to the user. Through that roles the user can access to what all you can see within the navigator. And again, other very important point is now Fusion is completely web based environment. It's everything is managed with the single user interface. There are no forms concept now in the Fusion application. It's completely web based, single user interface. Okay, you can just connect from any uh, devices, your smartphone or from anywhere you can connect. Okay, that will discuss. That purely depends on how you are going to deploy your servers and other things. We'll talk on that. So any questions here, please? Any questions from anyone, please? Fine, no questions. Good. The next concept is business process management, BPM. So this is equal to AME, approval management engine. In EBS we have approval management engine. Okay, for any approval, say if you want to set requisition approvals or PO approvals, those you can configure from purchasing application. We have a user interface they given, but reality where the actual functionality, actual workflows and all are part of AME, approval management engine. So that got replaced with business process management. In Fusion, if you want to set any approvals related to your SCM business processes, we have to use BPM application. Within this BPM you can have all these workflows, these each and every workflow. This uh, presentation we call as nodes. These are the different nodes within the workflow. So directly we can go to the workflow. It's very simplified, so very much simplified. Simply you can go and define your approval rule. Okay, this is how the BPM looks like. So you can select which workflow you require, and once you select, this is how the workflow will be open. And by selecting the specific node based on your business requirement, what sort of approvals you want to implement for the respective documents which we prepare in purchasing or respective application, you can go and define the rule. How to define the rule? I given one more slide to address how the rule can be defined. It's a very simple process. Say for example you are selecting one node. Once you select any one of the node, it will open the page where you can create the rule. It's a very simple rule. So if condition, if purchase order amount is same or more than 0 and the purchasing document header amount is purchase order header document type is standard, okay, then action is auto action is approved. Okay, auto action enabled true, that means it's auto approval, self approval. So amount is more than 0 means, so in every transaction, every document amount definitely should be more than 0. So we'll just, if you create any purchase order with say $100, then if the invoice PO type is standard, then that will get approved automatically. This is just one of the expression I taken for our discussion. So this is how you can set different conditions. Okay, here see we have many, is not, or more than, or same or more than, or less than, or same or less than, between, in, equal, ignore case. Okay, start with, end with, matches, contains, and here many conditions you can write, and you can go and specify this should be applicable for so and so business unit, nothing but operating unit as per EBS. And many like just if conditions you can specify. Here we used this condition, sorry, this condition, and we used and, where these two conditions need to be satisfied, then only if invoice amount PO amount is more than 0 and PO type is standard, okay, then system will approve automatically. This is how simple rules you can write by using the business process management, BPM. So when we are going to define the approval rules, within that we have a scope of defining the approvals by using the approval groups. Even EBS also we have approval groups. We can group the multiple resource, multiple employees, and for all of them you can set one same limit. That's how the approval can be implemented. Or else you can define the approvals job level or management chain or position or specific reports resource or supervisory employee supervisory hierarchy. You can just that relation you can build in the system accordingly, you can define. So then automatically if you any employee is going to create the PO or requisition, okay, automatically that will be routed to supervisor. If you are going to set supervisory, we know this supervisory and all this the same logic, but here the definitions they simplified. Okay, the definition they simplified, they given a lot of scope when we are going to write many conditions as a part of rule. Okay, anyway, we'll be testing all this, we'll be working on the approvals also. So we'll set the approvals for requisitions, purchase orders, then we'll come to know how we can configure how this will just enforce that approval controls within the system process. Okay, so any questions here, please? Okay, so any approvals we have to set from BPM, business process management. So these are the different type of approvals you can set it up as per the document process, how that need to be processed. Fine. Okay, seems to no question. Then fine, we'll just move to the next slide. So how accounting takes place in Fusion SCM. We know in EBS, okay, so when you create purchase order, when you create receipt, when you do the ship confirmation, system will create accounting. System creates accounting entries. Anyone tell me from where system will take this accounting information? PO creation, receipt creation, and when you do the ship confirmation, say COGS account and all, from where system derives in these three scenarios, from which source system derives these accounting, okay, to generate accounting entries for the respective transaction?
From
I think it's from the inventory org.
Yeah, from different, yeah, one is when you talk about one is inventory information. Yes, inventory information level will specify the accounting, and other points we have to understand in the receiving options will provide the accounting, in purchasing options we provide accounting, right? So this is how from
Yes.
in different sources we provide accounting. So whenever you do the transaction, accordingly system will derive. But in Fusion, that source based specification they completely removed. And to manage the accounting, okay, in Fusion SCM, to manage the accounting we have to use these concepts. To create accounting in Fusion SCM, we have these three concepts: transaction accounting builder, we call as tab, receipt accounting, and cost accounting. So when you create the purchase orders, to create the accounting, you have to set up transaction accounting builder as a part of SLA. It's a mandatory now. So if you don't set up transaction accounting builder, so you cannot proceed with the PO process. You cannot complete the PO creation, and so system won't fetch that accrual accounts or charge accounts as required for the process. The same way, if you want to account for the receipt which you create in the system, you have to configure the receipt accounting. For COGS and other sales related, cost related transactions, you have to configure cost accounting. So these accounting, okay, the configuration, they given separate objects where we have to set up. These will be part of SLA, subledger accounting. As a part of SLA we have to define. When we are working on EBS, it's not mandatory to go and do certain changes or definitions within the SLA. We can provide the accounting in the different sources. From there system will derive based on which transaction we are performing. That's how it was there in EBS. It's there in EBS. And when you talk about Fusion, we are not going to provide any accounts in the different sources how we given in EBS. Now all those rules, the accounting rules need to be defined through these definitions. Okay, so depending on the business process, you have to define these definitions. To create accounting for purchase orders, transaction accounting builder is mandatory. If you are going to create receipts, if you want to account them as a mandatory, you have to set up receipt accounting. If you are going to do the cost related transactions, say sales order, Okay, you are going to issue the sales order, then cost accounting is mandatory to track your COGS, cost of goods sold, and all this accounting code combinations. Okay, so here I given another slide to understand transaction accounting builder. When you talk about transaction accounting builder, so for what are the different account types we have to do this setup. So for accrual account, charge account, destination charge account, destination variance account, and variance account. For these types, we have to write a rule where the system has to take from where it has to take, like in SLA we have a mapping set, account rule definition, derivation, all we can specify. Same you can implement when you are going to define the transaction accounting builder for your PO accounting. This we can simply call as PO tab. PO tab. PO means purchasing tab, transaction accounting builder. Okay, to create accounting for purchase orders, this tab definition is mandatory. So this is the scope we have, like within the tab. For these type of accounts, we have to define the rules. So when you are going to define the rule, how we will create, like this we will be creating the rule. So just for here, I just given the information. We have a 5 accounts. For 5 accounts, we have to write the 5 rules. So just I given here a small simple slide how to create the rule. So ERP tree, charge account, the short name I given. Subledger application is purchasing, and select your chart of accounts. Rule type, account combination or segment, you will be selecting value type. Okay, so whether you want to derive based on other account rule which you already defined, or else system has to derive the default account code combination. I can select constant. When I select constant, I can provide code combination, so that system will be deriving that code combination whenever you create the purchase order. And in the same way, mapping set, some conditional based you can specify, or else you can specify the source. On the source level you can specify the accounting. But when you say source here, it's not like EBS what are the levels will provide the accounting. Apart from that, we have other definitions that will go through when you are working on this. And you can just give the specifications here, and you can write the rule also by using the SQL scripts. You can write some conditions. The rule is applicable for what, where you want to exclude it, that sort of conditions you can write directly. By validating all those conditions, system will derive the accounting for charge account when you create the respective PO transaction. So that's how we'll be just creating the transaction accounting builder. It is mandatory in purchasing when you create the purchase orders. The same way, receipt accounting. When you talk about receipt accounting, these are the different event classes we have as a part of receipt accounting. Based on our requirement, what are the different transactions we are going to perform, which are expected to account. For all those class of transactions, we have to create the receipt accounting. Just you would see here event classes. These are the different event classes. Okay, receiving, if you want to create accounting, you have to set that within the receipt accounting. And period end accruals accounting. See, you can see this list. Anyway, we'll be working on these things, so at that time we can understand more detail level. But just I given the slide here to give you some information. So what is the meaning of receipt accounting? Okay, when you deal with the receipt, whatever the accounting should takes place for all the event classes, you have to define the rules. The rules you have to map. Finally, that will be including in the SLA, subledger accounting, which will be part of your primary ledger. Okay, so these few points you have to understand when you talk about receipt accounting. The same way, cost accounting. So when you deal with the cost related transactions, to perform the accounting in the system environment, as a mandatory you have to define the rules. So the rules, cost accounting definition is applicable for all these event classes. So depending on our requirement, we'll be defining for which event classes. Okay, for which event classes we need rules, so that those will support for the respective uh, transactions which we are going to perform. Here subledger application is cost management we'll be using. Okay, so we'll be just working slightly on cost management also. So here I just selected for information sales order issue. When you issue the sales order, definitely system has to hit that COGS account and all. So accordingly, we have to create the cost accounting. For cost accounting related account rule definitions we have to do. Okay, that we'll see more detail level in the system, but just for information. So when you are going to deal with the accounting in the SAM applications, okay, So these three definitions are very much mandatory.
Can
So any
we?
questions on this?
Okay, the list of event classes which are there are, I think they are the seeded ones, right?
Seeded, yes. Seeded.
Can we add more
No.
or
Seeded. Those are seeded. If you are going to use some third-party system integrations for accounting and all, again we need FAH. That's a totally different concept. But general normal standard application usage, those are seeded. Those got some functionality behind those definitions.
and the number of accounts that are there for purchasing. Okay, I mean, I just wanted to have a look.
Yeah.
Are these the only set or
Only these,
we-
which are required in the purchasing process.
okay.
Yeah.
Can we know the significance of each in detail? Because in
Definitely.
accounting, how
We will discuss when we are defining the rules. We should talk on that. We'll talk on that.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. We'll discuss and we'll define. Okay. Fine. So any other questions on this accounting related definitions in SCM? Fine. No. Okay. So that's all about pivot tab and receipt accounting and cost accounting. These definitions are mandatory. We have to define the rules and we have to include as a part of our SLA, which need to be mapped with our primary ledger. So by using that primary ledger, when you have a transactions, of course the primary ledger will be associated with the specific BU, and when you have a respective transaction, based on these rules definition, the system will derive the accounting for the respective transactions in particular application. The next concept is file-based data import, we call as FBDI. We know in traditional implementation, when you are working on EBS, when you talk about data conversions, it's a very challenging task. We have to get technical resource. So it's a mandatory technical resource or technical resource any implementation project to at least to perform the data conversions. If there are any technical objects, that's fine. Like it could be some customizations or some extensions. That's totally different. But say for example you are doing the vanilla implementation. When you are doing the vanilla implementation, at least for data conversions, we need technical consultants. So without technical consultant, you cannot complete that implementation, because technical consultants will help us to move the data from legacy to our EBS environment, EBS applications. So, but in the Fusion, what they did is, when you are going to work on Fusion implementation as a SCM consultant, we don't need any technical consultants to help us. So they came up with the concept called as file-based data import. So with this, that means they are providing all the templates to load the suppliers. Oracle is providing the templates to load the purchase orders. Oracle is providing the template to load the customers. Oracle is providing the template to load the sales orders information. Oracle is providing the template to load the item information. Oracle is providing the template. You no need to prepare any template, which generally we do when we work as a EBS consultant, EBS SCM consultant. So all the templates Oracle is providing. If you want to just look into that, where the templates are available, let me take you through that. So all the templates are available in OER. OER stands for Oracle Enterprise Repository. Okay, in Oracle Enterprise Repository, all these templates are available. Just 1 second. What happened? Just system is not responding. Okay, so this is a place where you can download all the templates. So it's a Oracle Enterprise Repository. Oracle Enterprise Repository. So the public link is available. Okay, you don't need any just separate privileges to access this information. So just even Google also, you can search Oracle OER. Then you will be just system that will display the proper link and you can connect. Here based on the areas of application, basically as per FS function setup manager we call as offerings, that we'll discuss later. So when you talk about our application supply chain management, you can go through it. Again, purchasing and all are part of procurement only, so I'll go through this procurement. You can select procurement and which version we are using, release 12. You have to select the version which you are using. So because version to version there is some difference in the compatibility of the templates. The templates which Oracle is providing for release 11 so won't work for 12 because they need certain changes. So that is the reason you have to go with the you have to select proper version which you are using. Here we have a file based data import for procurement cloud. Just expand this, you can see all the templates. Okay, you can see all the templates: blanket purchase agreement import, blanket purchase agreements, create contract purchase agreements, requisitions import, suppliers related templates. Okay, so different templates are available. Just simple process, you can download the template from here. Say import suppliers, nothing but supplier header information. Just click on this and here itself they are providing the very detailed information. So this, once you load that supplier information, the system where the data will get populated in which interface and by using which program you can load this data, and the file you can download from here. Excel SM template, you can place right click and say to download the template from here, say save link as. So these all are predefined templates, you no need to prepare when we are working on Fusion application. So we'll be providing the sample data also they given, we will generally we remove it and we'll be providing the client information, and few fields are hidden if you want to see all the additional attributes also, generally which are optional, you can see. So this is how you can normal EBS implementation we prepare these templates, or else we may use from different project and we'll do required changes. But when you're working with the Fusion implementation, all the templates are available based on the version Oracle is providing. We'll provide the data and we'll go to this instructions under CSV generation. If you just click on create CSV file, system will create the CSV file and it will place that CSV file into zip file. Additional file also it will create. So CSV and zip file has been created. The simply that zip file we have to load into the system, then supplier information will be loaded into system. Okay, the normal process, what technical, they'll just collect the data, they'll create staging tables, they'll load the data, they'll write many validations, and with after validating the data they'll be populating the data in the interface, finally will import into base tables. So these technical work is not there in the Fusion. So they are providing these templates and that will be loading into the system by with just, if you want to load that supplier data, hardly you have to submit two programs, that's all. The very functional programs we have to go and submit. We'll see in our classes, we'll be loading the suppliers information, we'll load the customers information, we load sales order information, we'll be loading the purchase orders information, we'll be loading the other set of data which we have to understand as a part of SCM implementations. Okay, so this is how we can work on it. And other points here to understand, when you go to procurement, here you can see all the relevant tables also, table information, release 12. Okay, for which modules what tables we have, here you can select. Okay, tables and views for procurement cloud. So purchasing related tables, these are the tables and views they just classified, and you can just look into purchasing related different tables. It's a similar to some technical reference manuals will be having, right? Similar to that, they're given information here. Okay, you can find all the information here, and you can just select any one of the table. It talks about what is the purpose of table and it's part of which, how is the owner for the table. Okay, and the object type, it is table, and table space is, this is a table space within the table, what is the primary key and what are the columns we have and what information will get stored and what is the properties of the specific column. All the information you can see here. Fine. So that's how just I will talk on that process, what exactly, how many steps involved to load any data into Fusion application by using these templates. These templates only we call as FBDI templates, file based data import. Okay, templates. Just we'll have to download the templates. We have to fill the data. We'll just what normal process will download. We'll give it to the client. Before that, we'll be explaining what is the meaning of the field, and we'll be explaining them by just comparing with their current system related data structure, and they'll fill the data and we'll just high level we'll go through it. Then the information we can load into the system. When we are loading, if any records fails, it will generate report, and accordingly we can request the business users to provide the right information for the respective records. Okay, then again we'll reload. That's how finally we'll be loading the data into system by following the simple process. So just one of the template also I given here, file based data import. I given here PO template, purchase orders. This is how we can load the purchase order header information, lines information, locations, distributions, different tabs we have. Once you provide the data in the respective tabs with the classification of the PO data, you can go to instructions and the CSV generation. As we generated CSV file now, where system will take the CSV into a zip file. That file we can load into system. That's how you can load the PO's information to system. And reports. When you talk about reports in EBS, okay, yeah.
Lakshman? Okay. If at all there are more columns that are required to be added on the Excel, can we do that?
We no need to add all the additional attributes also will be part of this spreadsheets.
Okay, if at all beyond I mean, is there any restriction on the number of?
No, see one point here. One point we have to understand. So just Oracle is giving the option in every record when you create the PO header level or line level or distribution level. Okay, any level, like we have a DFF concept, right?
Mhm.
So in every DFF there is the limit to use the attributes. For all the levels, all the set of records, they are giving option to enter that additional attributes data into the spreadsheets. So normally there won't be any need of capturing too much of additional information. Normally just the standard information we have columns. Apart from that, if you want to capture additional information, you can utilize the DFF concept related attributes also. That reference fields also available in the spreadsheets.
Okay, like in EBS, we have a restricted number of DFF segments that we can use, right?
Yeah, segments are attributes.
Yeah, attributes that we can use, right?
In
And
here.
even here,
Same here. Same here. Within that only you can use. What I'm trying to say is, just they're given enough buffer segments as attributes as a part of DFFs. Generally, those would be enough. Those would be enough. But if you want to go beyond that, no option.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. So, any other questions on this? We'll discuss very detailed level. Okay, there are different steps involved, different programs we have to run, but finally it's a simple process. Okay, just I'm trying to introduce. Okay, this is the technique we have in the Fusion application. That's all. Any questions on this file-based data import, FBDI? Fine, no questions. So this is how the template looks like. Just now we downloaded and we converted to CSV file also. Right, that's all. When you talk about reports in EBS inbuilt, okay, we don't have any inbuilt OTB and BIP reports. If any client wants to use BIP reports, business intelligence publisher BIP reports, okay, BI publisher reports, they have to take separate license. But in the Fusion applications, as a part of SCM or any other subledger applications or any application, we have okay inbuilt reports like OTB and BIP reports. So what is the purpose of OTBI? Basically OTBI you can use for analysis purpose. if you want to analyze the data, or if you want to create the reports, we got a limited scope only over there, because Oracle, here the reporting whatever you create in the OTBA we call as subject area related reporting, where Oracle will give you the option. So within the which scope you'll be able to create the reports or some analysis. Will in our classes I'll take you through that. We'll create the OTBA reports also, so that we can understand, we'll be able to differentiate how these OTBA is different from BA. So when you talk about BIP reports, here you can write the queries. Okay, you can write the queries and you can fetch the data from database. That's how you can do this. But here we'll be using some predefined subject areas. Within that only we'll be selecting the required columns. Those you can use for analysis. But here it's all about writing the SQL and PL/SQL. SQL primarily SQL queries, and within that you can write very complex queries also. So this is a place where we can fetch the data from database. In EBS, if you want to connect to database, yes, you can use some third-party tools and you can fetch the data. But when you are working on Fusion application, if you want to query the data from database, only the option is that is possible from BIP, business intelligence only. Okay, your requirement, maybe see, if you have a requirement of creating the reports, yes, from BI you will be creating the report, custom report. You may not have a requirement of creating the report. Still, if you want to query the data, only the option is you have to navigate to BI Publisher. That is a place where you can query the data in the cloud environment. In the cloud, when you are going to use cloud SCM applications or any other application, it can be finance or projects or procurement, there is no option where you can access database directly through third-party tools. So your queries and everything will be writing in the web space only, within the system environment only, within the BI Publisher. The dashboards, spreadsheet, dashboards environment will be having where you can write the queries. To write some queries will be having the see here the simple point here. If you select SQL query, then you will be, the system will give you the option to write the SQL queries. That's how you can get a space of writing some panel to write SQL queries. Based on that, you can fetch the data that you can take into the report definitions to view the data in the proper formats. So that's how we have BIP. Basically, BIP is a purely technical job, but here I'll take you through the basic BIP reporting also, business intelligence publisher reporting. The reason is, when we are working on Fusion applications as a SCM functional consultant, we should know how to fetch the data from database. At least to understand how to query the data from database, we should touch BIP. Otherwise, this OTBA is purely functional work, where we can go and define the reports, or we can define the analysis based definitions. This anyway will go through these two. Okay, OTBA, how to prepare the reports by using the OTBA, or else how to conduct the analysis by using OTBA, and how to create the basic BIP, so that we can understand from where and how to fetch the data from database whenever it is required. Okay, as a part of our job. The other concept is role based dashboards. Okay, based on the roles which we assign to the user, okay, the system will give you the access to the relevant dashboards, so that user can just perform multiple activities from one place. So you see here, just simple example I taken, role based dashboards. If you see here, in this, from the dashboard, what user can do is requisitions. All requisitions or negotiation required or failed automation. Okay, when you are loading the requisitions, all the information you can see here, and you can take the required action. You can return them, or you can reassign to someone else. And orders, the draft orders where attention is required against the sales orders from the so and so user, the current user who is accessing this, and the POs which are under in process. The same way agreements. Okay, in the PO, different type of agreements we have, right? So contract agreement, other agreements we have those. This is a PO, means standard PO. The remaining, just they classified as a separate area of the work as agreements. So on that, what are the draft agreements and attentions required in process, pending authorization. Okay, all these you can see from the single dashboard. And other side you can see the access to creating the orders and managing the orders, generating the orders, importing the orders, and working on different agreements and some deliverables definitions. And here only, from here only, you can access to the reports also. But when you talk about EBS, to perform these, we have to navigate to many different places. Reports separate navigation, for querying the data separate navigation, to view some data, different set of data, different navigation, to approve that requisitions or PO, different navigations. So we have a different navigations because of this dashboards. Based on the role, the user will be able to have access to different category or different uh, classification of data from one place. That's how these role-based dashboards are useful in the Fusion applications. Okay, so that's all about the demo which is planned for today. And apart from this, or based on this today's discussion, if you have any questions, please. Any questions on today's discussion? Or apart from this, if you want to understand something else, let me know. In the next session, what we'll do is we'll talk about what is the meaning of cloud, how it is different from on-premise. If any client is going to use cloud, what are the advantages they can get, what are the disadvantages. If any client is going to use cloud application, what are the different options are available from Oracle, how those are different. Okay, where you can get more privileges, where we are limited to a specific area of the access, and what is the Fusion applications architecture, what is the enterprise structure in the Fusion application. There are many other points to understand that we'll be covering in the tomorrow session. So any questions based on today's session, please?
Okay, Lakshman Meena here.
Yeah.
I was actually looking forward for procurement related details in
No, that
detailed way.
hmm.
Are you going to?
Procurement, see,
I was
that is
wondering.
a separate course we have. Okay.
Okay.
So you cannot see what you are expecting from procurement in this SCM sessions. So the primary focus is SCM, like the P2P and O2C cycles will be running. When you say procurement, PO is part of procurement only, but so within the procurement we have a different modules, right? So we are not going to
That's
cover all the modules. Where very much closely uh, interact with the process of purchasing, those will be covering, but not all the modules. The primary focus would be on SCM modules only. This very primary is these three modules as we discussed.
okay. And is there any plan for new batch for procurement on
Let me know. You
R12?
can you can keep in touch with our team, or else I'll inform them to just to give you the update on that.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
thank you.
So any questions from others?
Lakshman Vijay, yeah.
Yeah, Vijay, please. Vijay, please go ahead.
In that role-based dashboard, there is one option. Yeah, in that role-based dashboard, I could see that there is an import order. So is it something like an auto create?
So yes, you
That we
can.
see.
Sorry, I could hear some noise from your end. 1 second. Yeah. So import orders. Import orders means when you are loading the data, you can just load the data and you can populate the interface. When order information in the interface, you can just go and submit import process, and you can specify the source and you can import from the source to purchasing application, or else the same import order task you can use to import the data which you are interfacing from third party applications. Within the Fusion application, related data imports are third party order information into purchase order.
Okay.
Yep. So any other questions from any other participants, please? If no questions, we can wind up the session for today. We'll connect tomorrow and we'll just take few more topics for tomorrow's discussion, and we'll continue from there.
Lakshman, can you share your contact number?
Sure, I'll do that.
If,
May I know who is speaking?
Vijay here.
Yeah, Vijay. We'll give you a call then. Yep.
Yeah.
Fine, Vijay. So if no questions, we can wind up the session for now. And other points I want to just include, as I said earlier, we'll be running the classes on the very latest version, that is 12, which is available in the market. And the same instance access will share with you for our practice. And each and every session we record, and we'll be sharing the recorded videos also, so that you can completely download to your machine and you can keep with you permanently. If at all you need instance access for more than 3 months, yes, we are ready to extend for 1 more or 2 more months. And with any reason, if you are not able to continue in this batch after subscribing this course, we will allow you to attend in any one of the future batch. So no restrictions on that. You can attend, you can be part of one or more than one batch, upcoming batches. If you are not able to, if you are going to drop from this batch in middle, or because of your office timings or other reasons, if you are not able to focus on this training classes, okay, with any reason, if you want to attend once again, we will allow you. No objections against that. So
Hi, Lakshman. This is Siddharth.
yeah.
I just wanted to know if you guys are providing any documents apart from the video, because looking at the video is great, but over a period of time, a document feed is much better for quick reference.
Yes.
So would you be providing any
Yeah,
videos? I'm sorry, any documents?
we will provide a few documents which you can use for reference. And other very important point I want to share with you, within the Fusion help repository is not like EBS help repository. It's very advanced. You can get very good information within the instance. I'll take you through that, how we can utilize that help. They're given the documents within that our Fusion environment, and they're given the FAQs. They're given examples. They're given very generic some functional related explanations, and videos also they provided. So this is how that help they classified, and they're providing within the system environment only. Okay. Yeah, from our side also, we'll just share few documents which you can use for reference. But other very important point is help is available within the instance for the different categories of the data, documentation, video.
All right.
We'll do that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Lakshman, one last question. For Fusion, do we have any? I mean, yeah, you just explained that it is very self-explanatory in the environment, but like in EBS, we have self-study course materials, right? Like
The documentation is available. The documentation is available. Okay, if you want, I'll be sharing the link. I'll share the link. You can just go through it. You can download the documents, or else online help also available. It's a public link. Okay. And a few documents which we treat as a private, I'll be sharing.
Okay. Thank you.
Fine. Any other questions from anyone, please?
So Lakshman, how you share this video of this each sessions?
Okay. So what I'll do is initial 2 to 3 classes I'll be uploading in the YouTube. The link I'll be sharing so you can play. And going forward, maybe from 4th session, once we start with the 4th session, I'll be placing all the videos in the Google Drive. I'll give you the Google Drive access. Then you can download from your site, and you can play offline.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Fine. That's all for today, and we'll connect tomorrow same time. So 10 o'clock. Okay. So thanks for joining this session. Have a good day and good night. Thank you.